Hi, I'm Chris James, and you're watching Healthy Alternative. Today, I want to talk about the benefits of Michael, and today we're going to be talking about...
Today we'll be making one of my favorite soups.
Welcome to the
tomato
JR72 Challenge.
I am Animated Mel, and I am your mental and wellness coach for
As always, perfection is not needed, but consistency
We must
is
first lovingly accept what is. You can't heal a body you hate.
I just want to take a moment to say thank you to all of you all for coming. This community is designed to support you in that time. It's really to utilize when things are bad and when you're at your lowest.
I started to learn about emotions. I started to learn about finding root causes, right? Starting to understand addiction and how addiction is not, once again, the issue that we are using a negative stimulus as a coping mechanism.
Part of my mission is to make sure people know that everything we need comes in a natural form. It's already here for us.
I am determined. I am strong. And I am ready.
We must first lovingly accept what is. I often say, you can't heal a body you hate.
This is healthy blood cells. And that's what we're aiming for. So you can see the contrast. Okay? What you do matters.
Thank you all for coming. Be blessed.
We're going to bring up your next speaker. That's going to be the wonderful, magnificent Chris James.
If you talk about how much you hate your fat, your body has been working all this time to keep you alive. I don't think anybody in my circle understands impossible. Hello, what's going on, everyone? Oh, my voice just cracked. Come on, man, what are you doing to me? Hello. I hope you all are feeling well this evening. We got a nice little call. We got a nice little chat we're doing tonight. I need you all to hit me with the one in the chat. Let me know if you can hear me, see me, everything's good. Let me know you can hear me, you can see me, and everything is good. All right, good, man. We've been on a roll lately. We've been having some pretty solid experiences with the technical side of things, so I'm happy about that. Doing something different, doing like a kind of like a simulcast type vibe tonight. So I got TikTok set up for the first time in, I think, man, it's probably been like a year since I've been on live on TikTok. So I'm gonna see if I get some good interaction on TikTok, I'll pull questions and we'll incorporate it in the live stream tonight. But we're going to be talking about propaganda. We're going to be talking about the disgusting effect of propaganda and how propaganda actually affects or impacts our wellness journey. And this topic actually, it came to mind because I did a video a couple of nights ago talking about the food pyramid, all right? And basically how the food pyramid was misinformation. And the problem that I have with the food pyramid is that it didn't make a clear distinction between, you know, the different types of foods we should be eating. For example, you've got real grains and you have artificial grains. So these were some of the points I brought up. Now, under my comment section, I got a couple people talking about how the food pyramid is not propaganda. It was not a lie. The problem is that people did not properly follow the food pyramid, because who can gain weight just eating 3 to 5 servings of fruit, 5 to 7 servings of vegetables, and whatever else the recommended amount of food is that you get from the food pyramid. So I got a little bit of pushback on it, and I said, man, it's actually crazy that somebody would give me pushback on this topic, because in my opinion, the food pyramid was propaganda, and all of the campaigns around it were propaganda, and it was designed to make sure that we get sick and stay sick. So it worked. There's obviously a subset of people that it worked on. So then I'm like, all right, well, shoot, maybe we could talk about propaganda so that people understand propaganda a little bit better, so that when we talk about these subjects, we talk about the food pyramid, we talk about different things, we can talk from a lens of understanding. So shout out, I see you, you said my video inspired you to do the dry fasting. That's what's up. I hope you do well. I hope you do your prep first, okay? Make sure you do your prep first. You talking about you doing it next week, that means you should be prepping this week. All right. So we're going to kind of walk down this path. The first thing I want to do is define propaganda so we kind of understand what it is, because I think we use the word, but people don't know what it actually is. So it's defined as a systematic dissemination of information, ideas, narratives designed to influence public opinion, attitude, or behaviors towards a particular cause, ideology, or agenda. Now, this often involves biased, misleading, or selective presented information to shape perceptions and achieve a specific outcome. So we understand that propaganda is manipulation. That is exactly what manipulation is. Okay. So when we say propaganda, it typically has a negative undertone because it is a form of manipulation. Some of the things that I would say are key characteristics of propaganda is a persuasive intent. My goal is to persuade you one way or another. Now, me personally, I'm not opposed to manipulation. It sounds bad. I know manipulation has a negative connotation, but manipulation, I think, is good or bad depending on if the person has good intent or bad intentions. Some people have to be manipulated in order to get them to move, in order to get them to do and be successful. And that's just what it is. So I don't think manipulation across the board is bad. However, I think propaganda typically is. Emotional appeal. They want to use your emotions against you. They use fear, pride, guilt, and other emotions in order to drive certain responses rather than having rational arguments. When we use propaganda, we don't want rational thinking. Rational thinking will disrupt this spell that propaganda casts. So it's important that we utilize and we prey on emotion. This is the reason why you'll hear people say, never make emotional decisions. When you make an emotional decision, you are not rational. You're not thinking rationally. Okay. So they use this against us. The other big thing about propaganda is the fact that they use selective information. So this is going to include exaggerated or distorted one-sided facts while omitting contradictory evidence. This means that they're going to present evidence in a way that only tells their side of the story. And the problem with evidence that's one-sided is that it sounds good. You might have science to back it. You might have experts to back it. You may have circumstances to back it. Without the balance of hearing both sides of the story, one is just simply led to believe that whatever the narrative that they're being presented with is the correct one. This is the danger of documentaries. This is why documentaries are so powerful. You can literally create a documentary, have one specific narrative in mind, show one side of it, and then get a lot of people to agree with your viewpoint because of a documentary. So they're very powerful tools that are used for propaganda as well. The other thing they do with propaganda is they use repetition. So they'll repeat a message frequently, and then reinforce the idea to make them more acceptable over time. And we know there was a very famous dictator of history who said that a lie repeated 1,000 times becomes the truth. So once again, we have the negative reinforcement. Propaganda typically is a tool used for negative thing, for negative reasons. It's never really looked at in a positive light. They will often get authority figures. So you'll get like basketball players, Olympic gold medalists, or even doctors, people with credentials to endorse a particular side. That way, when you have trusted figures and celebrities or experts, it lends to credibility. If your favorite actor or singer is saying, "Hey, I," okay, so when we were talking about the food pyramid, one of the big things I was talking about was breakfast. Is that campaign around breakfast was one of the most detrimental things they did to us, and we'll talk more about that actually coming up soon here. But if you have one of your favorite artists say, "Hey, I eat breakfast every day. It's how I perform at such a high level. It's one of the reasons why I can be who I am." Then you're like, "Oh wow, well that makes sense because I love this person and they do perform at a high level. So maybe I should eat breakfast," right? It's just an example. They'll create symbols and slogans. Okay, they'll utilize memorable phrases and imagery in order to create a strong association with whatever the message is. Propaganda gets very deep into the psyche. It really preys on our emotions and it preys on, natural instincts. Okay, so we have to understand that propaganda is much deeper than just a surface level thing. And also the reality is, if you are a s- I would say a victim of propaganda, you probably don't know it. So that's important to understand. Like, you might not be aware of it. Okay, so you have to have an open mind in order to understand if you've been a victim of propaganda, and also in order to like avoid it in the future, you got to have an open mind. You got to be willing to look at things from a different perspective. All right. So there's different types of propaganda. You've got political propaganda, which is used by the government and political groups. That's going to help to influence elections, public policy, national identity, things of that nature. Then you've got commercial propaganda. That's going to be seen in like advertisements, marketing. This is going to shape a customers or consumers' behavior, which right now we've got large data um, harvesters like Facebook and TikTok and Instagram and other platforms. They harvest our data, they harvest our interactions, they harvest our thoughts through the phone and everything like that. And then they sell that data, and then those commercial entities take that data and they package their ad campaigns in order to become attractive to you, right? So here's an interesting way to look at it. If, let's say, you're on a dating app, and one of the prompts is, um, how do you like to receive love, or what's one thing that a person can do to have you head over heels, right? So these prompts are really asking you to reveal like how to unlock the key to your heart. That's essentially what they're saying. How can I unlock the key to your heart? If you put, "Well, I'm a sucker for someone who's funny, who can tell jokes. I'm a sucker for somebody who smells good. I love a person with a beautiful smile," and you start giving all these characteristics and traits, anybody who's consuming that data, that information, they can then curtail their personality to be exactly what you want, right? They can make themselves more appealing. And so that's what happens in the commercial sense. This is just basic marketing. Like, you want to understand your consumer better than they understand themselves, and then present the information in the most palatable format so that you could get the sale or get whatever it is you want. All right. So propaganda is all over. They also use wartime propaganda. So that's going to be aimed at boosting morale, demonizing enemies, or encouraging enlistments to and public support. So one of the things that we see a lot in America is, anytime we want to be involved in a war or something that we really don't have business over there doing, we will use the media to create propaganda around whatever the situation is. We will paint a particular person as a dictator, as evil, as they don't take care of their own people. And then that'll rally support around that cause. We'll send our tax dollars over there in order to fight this war that we really have no business being involved in. So Propaganda is used against us in so many different ways. They've got religious propaganda, social propaganda. I mean, it's all over the place. But I wanted to talk, because we do health and wellness, right? So I wanted to talk about an example, a very huge example of propaganda that most of us in the United States, and I'm sure many of you overseas, have been affected by, and that's Eric Benet's breakfast campaign. Okay, Eric Benet's breakfast campaign promoted bacon, eggs, and the idea of the American breakfast in order to get people to consume these products throughout the day, right, during the breakfast time. Now, one thing, and we're going to dive deeper into Eric Benet, because that he's really the subject of this call when it really we break it down. But one thing I wanted to do is make a parallel between propaganda, which is the kind of an older term, okay, and a more new term called gaslighting. So as I'm putting together this presentation, I'm like, propaganda really sounds like gaslighting. So for those who don't understand what propaganda is, if the way I've presented it so far doesn't resonate, maybe you understand what gaslighting is. So gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation in which a group or individual deliberately makes someone question their reality, memory, perceptions, etc. Now the goal is to create doubt and undermine the victim's confidence in their own judgment. That's what gaslighting is. So gaslighting and propaganda are like brother and sister. Okay, they're in the same family. They can essentially be used as tool. They could be used as the same tool, really. When we look at gaslighting, you've got a denial of reality. Okay, the manipulator insists that something didn't happen, that the victim is just imagining things. You've got contradiction, so they frequently change their story or deny previous statements, making the victim feel confused. These are all very, very toxic things to do to somebody, but it's all done intentionally, right? You want to minimize the victim's concerns and dismiss any overreaction or irrational fears. With gaslighting, you shift blame. You create isolation. All right. You want to make sure that people don't have a good support group. You want to make sure that they're kind of alone. I hope this is making sense, because when we talk about propaganda, this is exactly what they do. They isolate people. How do they do it? By creating different camps. You have one camp that believes this one thing. You have another camp that believes this other thing, and it creates division and it isolates you. There was a time in the not so distant past where we were being isolated because of a particular ailment that was going around, a disease that was going around, and that disconnection, that isolation and disconnection from other people, it actually weakened us. Okay, so they use this stuff in many different forms, but I just wanted to make that parallel to gaslighting. So now I want to talk a little bit about who they call the father of public relations. What a beautiful way to put it. The father of public relations, Eric Benet. This guy is absolute, well, he's an evil genius, I'll say. I was going to say he's absolute garbage, but he's really an evil genius. He's probably the one that came up with his own saying, the father of public relations. It sounds really good. I call him the father of propaganda, because I think that's exactly what he was. He studied the human human psychology. He was an expert in it. And he was a tool that was used by different entities in order to push very harmful narratives on the American people. And once again, even if you're not in America, I guarantee you that his reach stretched across the ocean and has an impact on you all today. So, he's not necessarily my favorite guy in history. One of the things that he did, where he's very known for, is this breakfast campaign. So Eric Benet Bernet. He's credited for being the pioneer of propaganda techniques to influence public opinion and behavior. All right. Now, one of his most notable campaigns involved the transformation of public perception around breakfast in the early 20th century. Well, the question then becomes, why did someone need to transform the public perception of breakfast? What did we believe before this? Not only did we have a different belief before he came around, it was a strong belief. Okay, because if it wasn't a strong belief, you wouldn't have really needed his expertise to change the public's perception of breakfast. Now, me personally, I really say, yeah, you know what? Breakfast is detrimental to us most of the time because of how we consume it, because of when we consume it. A lot of us are consuming breakfast extremely early in the morning, okay, during a time when our body is actually looking to eliminate, based on the body's circadian rhythm. When you first wake up early in the morning, the body is really looking to eliminate. If you guys think about it, you might be passing gas, or you might have a bowel movement that's ready to come out. You might need to pee. More than likely, you may have mucus coming out, whether it's mucus in the eyes, right, the crystals, or mucus coming out of the nose or out of the mouth. The breath smells bad. You can tell that the body is eliminating early in the morning. So based on the circadian rhythm, what you do not want to do is then disrupt the body's natural process, which is eliminating food, right, in that during that time frame, in order to start digesting food. The body can't do it doesn't efficiently do anything else when it's digesting food. This is one of the reasons why they want to make sure you guys are eating 24/7, because if you're eating 24/7, if you do develop a dis-ease, well, guess what? The body can't properly deal with that dis-ease because you're constantly eating, right? So they create habits in us in order for us to be eating all the time, to increase consumerism, yes, but also to keep us sick as well. It has many purposes, and that's the beauty of what they do. If somebody tries to point at one thing, they're like, well, you can make an argument for why that one thing maybe isn't valid. But the reality is they do everything for multiple reasons. It wasn't just about selling us more food. Okay. But we're going to talk about the breakfast campaign. So selling bacon and eggs was the ideal breakfast. All right. In the 1920s, Bernays was hired by Beach and Nut Packing Company, which was a producer of bacon, and boost the sales. At the time, breakfast in the United States was typically light and simple, consisting of items like coffee, rolls, and fruit, which is actually pretty common, I think, around the world. When people did eat breakfast, it's, coffee, a tea, some soup, some fruit juice, or some fruit, maybe a little biscuit or something like that, right? It was super light, which makes sense because if you are going to eat something early in the morning, you just want to eat something very light. Okay? You don't want to have anything heavy. Why? Because if you eat heavy first thing in the morning, you're going to sap your energy. Remember, in order to digest food, it takes anywhere from 60, depending on who you talk to, 60 to 80% of your energetic reserve in order to digest food. That's why the body can't digest and do other things. It doesn't have the additional energy to do it. So while we're constantly digesting food, we really don't have energy for anything else. Now, when you're a child, right, you're 4, 5 years old, 7 years old, even going into your preteens, you have such an abundance of energy, it doesn't matter. But where we start to see it is in our late 20s, right? Especially nowadays. It used to be in our 40s, we started to see the decline, but our sickness has been accelerated. So now we see people in their late 20s having the same symptomology as people in their 40s did, 40 or 50 years ago. But anyway, this guy was a genius at propaganda. So what are the strategies he used? He leveraged experts. We talked about that earlier. This is the reason why when I put the information out about the food pyramid. This is why I got the pushback in the first place, because the propaganda, it works really well. It's designed for you not to understand that it's happening. All right. Bernays understood the public trusted authority figures like doctors. He surveyed physicians to promote the idea of a hearty breakfast, so that people thought it was essential for maintaining health and energy throughout the day. And we actually still use these techniques to this day in modern advertising. It really hasn't gone away. Think about your favorite toothpaste commercial, right? Well, whoever you like to use as far as toothpaste, you see the commercial, it'll tell you, 7 out of 10 doctors, dentists recommend this, right? So they're you don't even know who the dentists are. They're just saying that 7 out of 10 recommend this toothpaste. You don't even know that what they're saying is true. There's no way to confirm that. It's not stated in a way where you can do your research and say, okay, yeah, that's correct, or no, that's not correct. It's very vague, and it's done that way for a reason. He also surveyed, he then publicized the survey results, stating that bacon and eggs fit the bill for such a hearty meal. Okay. So one thing that you guys have to understand is people with money and influence, they can actually pay scientists. They can give them grants, or they can give them money and say, hey, we're looking for a particular result or outcome. If you can get a science to say that to prove our particular result or outcome, you'll get this money. The government does this as well. They'll offer grant money for studies, and they'll say, if you can come back with the right result, we'll give you the money for the study. If you don't get the money. So people are incentivized to find the science, to lean their science towards a particular outcome. And that is not how science is supposed to work. So with science, you have a theory, right? You have a theory, and then your goal as a scientist is to try to disprove your theory. You do not have a theory and then try to find science. You got to try to find facts and things to support your theory. That's not the way science is supposed to work. So this is one of the reasons why I'm not a fan of modern science, because people have flipped science on its head, and it's not being used and performed the way it should be or the way it would have been. All right. Now, this dude was not called the father of propaganda for no reason. We talked about what propaganda was. This man uses many tools of propaganda to get people to lean his direction. Another thing he did was he created demand. The campaign did not explicitly sell bacon, but instead promoted the general concept of a bigger breakfast, which happened to include bacon and eggs. By focusing on health and nutrition, he reframed the idea of breakfast and planted it as an essential and substantial meal for a productive day. You want to do better. You want to live more vibrant. You want to get ahead of life. You want to outperform whoever. You need to eat a hearty breakfast. Okay. If you have a very high level athlete, we're talking maybe like Olympian level, you use somebody like that as a spokesperson. You say, hey, I eat a hearty breakfast before every workout. It gives me the energy I need to be explosive in order to dominate on the track. You do things like that. You sell that idea. The beautiful thing about his process is he didn't say, hey, you need to eat this brand of bacon or that brand of bacon. He plays at such a high level. It didn't matter what bacon people were buying. Whoever was employing him was making money off of it, right? The people who manipulate the markets, the market movers, like, they're going to make money as long as you're consuming the product. It don't matter what brand. So it's harder to see the manipulation because he's not saying, hey, buy this particular brand of bacon or that particular brand of eggs. He's saying, as a general thing, you need to add eggs and bacon to your breakfast, right? So it's really genius the way that you do it. Then, of course, he used the showstopper, which is the media. The media is designed to manipulate you to have a particular opinion about one thing or another. When I was probably like 17, okay, I had watched my mom watch the news every night for probably 10 years at that point. And I could never understand why she was so interested in the news. So I decided to start watching the news myself. And what I found disturbed me to no end. Every story was about something negative. Now, I don't know if I just happened to start watching the news at the wrong time, but at the time in Cincinnati, where I was living, Cincinnati, Ohio, there was a spree of murders. I don't know if I just lived in a very murderous city. I think at one point we were named top 5 or top 10 most dangerous cities in the United States. It was around that time. And every time I turned the news on, someone was dying. It was so bad. Not only did I just see people dying on the news from murders, I also saw like people dying from just weird situations. Like this one lady, I don't know if she had got left in her house or in her attic or something like that, but she had like died in her house and her son or somebody found her in her house dead too. And I'm just like, bro, why is everything so negative? Everything was geared towards negativity or fear. You know, there was a lot of fear. Make sure to get your flu shots. Make sure to do this. Make sure to do that. Make sure to watch out. People are sending anthrax in the mail and just all of this stuff. And I got sick. I was like, why do you watch this crap? And my mom would be like, well, you know, I want to be informed. I want to make sure that whatever's going on out there, I'm aware of it. I'm like, aware of it for what? What are you going to do different? You still live your life. You still go to church every week. You still go to your job every week. You still go to the grocery store. You're not improving your life based on this information. But this information is manipulating your thought process. It's manipulating your perspective, right? Now, back then, maybe it wasn't as much negativity. Maybe it was more of this type of manipulation where they're going to get you to, buy into particular products and services or buy into certain ideology. They definitely still do that today. But at the time, maybe the populace wouldn't have accepted so much negativity so easily. So you probably had more positive things in the news as well, right? When I was younger, I was with a group of preschoolers that we did something. And I remember we were in the newspaper. We were in the local newspaper. Okay. So there was still positivity being pumped along with the negativity and the fear mongering. But nowadays, it's the ratio isn't that great. Now, ultimately, Brené's campaign was hugely successful. Okay. And it fundamentally reshaped the American eating habits. Bacon and eggs became synonymous with breakfast in America. And that legacy literally continues to this very day. Like literally. Until I changed my diet, I was still eating breakfast, bacon and eggs. I first changed my diet back in 2000 and it might have been like 2010 or 2011 when I stopped eating bacon because I was becoming hypertension. I got pre-hypertension. And I just associated my pre-hypertension with the bacon I was eating and then the season oil I was putting on my eggs. So when that happened, I made a change. But before that, I was doing I used to love it. I would get the center cut bacon with and what I would do, and I don't know if any of y'all did this, whatever, but I'd cook the center cut bacon in the pan, and then the grease from the center cut bacon, I'd put my eggs and I fry my eggs in it, hit it with a little season oil. It was absolutely incredible. Like it was literally a drug. That combination, it's literally a drug. And it was killing me slowly. And at the time I was only like 25, 26. So yeah, it was messing me up. Now, so the result is that, our breakfast has been forever changed. Okay. When I say to people, hey, if you're going to eat breakfast, eat something light, maybe a piece of fruit or have some fruit juice. People are like, that's not breakfast. And this is the other thing too. I got comments about breakfast. Like when I talk about breakfast, people are like, oh, breakfast just means breaking your fast. I'm like, why are you trying to argue semantics? It's not about breaking your fast. Okay. People don't, if breakfast is breaking your fast, then gay means you're happy. Okay. And why are we all arguing and so upset over this word when gay means you're happy? The reality is, in this day and age, the words mean something different than what maybe they originally meant. So breakfast doesn't mean breaking your fast anymore, even though it does technically. But the way we use it is like it's the first meal of the day. It's early in the morning. You got to eat it before noon. Because if you don't eat it before noon, then it's not it's not breakfast. It's either brunch or lunch. Right? To the point where we will even say, I'm gonna have breakfast for dinner, meaning I'm gonna eat breakfast food at dinner time. Breakfast food, what does that mean? It's bacon, it's egg, it's pancake, it's all of the stuff that comes along with it. Eric Benet, he put that out there. Like this dude literally shaped a culture, our culture. He manipulated us. That's the power of propaganda. And it seems harmless. It's like, well, Chris, you're just talking about breakfast. Okay, apply it to anything else. Apply it to your religious beliefs. Apply it to your wellness beliefs. Apply it to your relationship, your relational beliefs. Okay, propaganda is being used against us. In it's being used against us in a way that you guys would never even think. And the reality is, it's gotten more potent recently. Okay. And this is one of the reasons why we deal with so much sickness is because of propaganda. It's one of the reasons why. So, for example, if you do get the flu, or even if you get like flu-like symptoms, what's your first move? Run to the store and buy a prescription drug. You know, that might not be you as an individual's first move, but holistically, people will say, I'm going to go and get some cough syrup or whatever it is. I don't even know what y'all do because I'm so far removed. I'll be honest and say that. I'm so far removed. I don't know what it is that you guys might do. But the point is, you're going to run off and you're going to do something that has been predetermined for you, right? Someone decided, okay, I have a pharmaceutical company, or I'm a pharmacy. I need to get customers in here. So they're going to put commercials out to manipulate you into believing that this is your best option to come in and get this drug. When, 50, 100 years ago, we knew natural solutions to most of the issues we dealt with. And people understood that was a good thing. Okay. Nowadays, natural healing, herbs, things of that nature, that's looked at as alternative. That's looked at as lesser than. If you're not going to get a doctor's an authority figure, someone with a PhD, someone who works at a hospital, if you're not going to get their advice or expertise on something, then you're a fool. Where do you guys think that came from? Who decided that that white coats, doctors, PhDs were the only source of wellness information? When literally 50 years ago, we knew that wasn't the case. You went to different wellness practitioners based on what you had going on. Like one thing that I noticed is in modern times, let's say if I go to be a doctor, but I'm gonna go to be a dentist. Most people don't even look at a dentist as a real doctor. They look at a dentist as less than. Okay, there was a time when dentists were respected probably at the same level, if not more, than medical doctors. It's like if you're not a medical doctor, you're not a real doctor. Chiropractors are not looked at as real doctors. Your healthcare insurance won't cover you for chiropractor work all the time. They're not going to always cover it. It just depends. So how did that happen? There was a time when we were looking to improve our wellness, we would go to an herbalist. We would get acupuncture done. When did all that get thrown out the window as alternative quackery or whatever? And the only real doctors are medical doctors. How did that happen? It was propaganda. Now, I've got something that I want to share with you all that some of you may not be aware of, but I want you to understand this. The government is fully aware of propaganda, right? The government knows what propaganda is, uses propaganda, has been using propaganda. But recently, there was a law passed. Do you guys understand? There was a law passed that made propaganda legal in the United States. Okay? It was an act called the Smith Monetization Act. I don't even know how to say that word. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm terrible at pronunciation. But it was from 2012, which amended the U.S. Information and Education Exchange Act of 1948. Okay. Originally, this law prohibited the U.S. government from using state-funded propaganda to influence domestic audiences. So there was a law put in place to prohibit the United States government from utilizing propaganda. So this was designed to protect us, but that got rescinded and changed. The amendment repealed the domestic ban. We were always allowed to propagandize other people because, once again, what is it? It's basically manipulation. It's gaslighting. You want to spread a particular narrative for your benefit, for whatever your benefit is, but using it against the American people, no, you can't do that. You could use it against other people, but not against the American people. And I don't know, I guess we were stupid enough to believe it. I mean, that's what it looks like to me. We believed it. Me personally, now that I am aware of propaganda, I'm aware of how deep-seated it is. I see it all the time. It's normal. Like, I see it everywhere. Okay? And so here's my thing. You guys heard the presentation, right? You understand where I'm coming from with it. You get my thought process. Why is it now then people will hear information, certain information, and reject it instantly? Don't you think, especially if you're aware of propaganda, don't you think you owe it to yourself to investigate things? Why is it that you have a knee-jerk reaction to hearing certain things and you just instantly reject it? It sometimes will even make you upset, even if you have no dog in the fight. It really has nothing to do with you, but it's a belief that you have that was embedded in you probably early on. And when someone challenges that belief, you just instantly get triggered. That is what manipulation is. And now everybody becomes an agent to perpetuate that propaganda. Who wants to be manipulated? Like, why do you guys want to be manipulated? If I were to say, hey, do you want to be manipulated? Like, is that something that you're interested in? For someone to have the ability to manipulate you, 9 times out of 10, people are going to say no. Okay? Most people are going to say, absolutely not. I do not want to be manipulated. Well, I just laid out how, just in the most simple terms, how breakfast was propaganda. It is manipulate. They manipulated you. They tricked you into thinking that it was something good for you and beneficial, and they were just looking to sell some bacon and eggs and maybe keep you sick, right? Make money off you, keep you docile. So it is really, if you're saying you do not want to be manipulated, then you have to do your research. You got to look into it, because that means you have a belief, right? It could be a core belief or a fundamental belief that you have, and I'm challenging that right now, and you could just instantly reject it. Or if you really do, or if you really are about what you say, you don't want to be manipulated, then go and research for yourself, find out for yourself. Now, what I found out through my own experimentation is that I actually feel better not eating early in the morning. And really, when I really searched myself and I looked back on my past and my interaction with breakfast, I never was really hungry in the morning. You know, the only reason why I ate breakfast in the morning is because it was pushed on me. As a matter of fact, as I got older and I started going to school without, my parents taking me or whatever, and I had the opportunity to get there early for breakfast, I wouldn't even go to breakfast. Even if I got there early enough, I just didn't go to breakfast. So I bet a lot of you all are the same. I bet that if you really think about it, there was a time when you didn't even eat breakfast, you didn't want breakfast, but someone forced it on you, say, hey, you got to eat breakfast. You know, you want to have a good start to your day. You want to make sure that you got energy. You want to make sure your processing power is up, like whatever thing they said to you. And the person saying it to you was probably just repeating some fake pseudoscience that they heard from the media, right? Or from some expert. 7 out of 10 dentists. You know what I'm saying? They're just regurgitating information they heard. And because people like to sound like they know what they're talking about, they will regurgitate facts that they have not researched or really put pressure on themselves. Like, if you're not doing any personal experimentation, how do you know? The reason why I feel so strongly about this, especially this breakfast thing, is because I've changed up. If you've never eliminated breakfast from your lifestyle, how do you know if it's better for you or not? Like, how do you actually know? Are you that gullible to just believe something that someone tells you because they have a white coat or alphabets in front of their name? See, me personally, I'm all about opening up people's eyes, giving you the option to say, okay, there's two sides of this story. Which one do you want to which one resonates with you more? Maybe you want to do a little experimentation. Anytime people tell you there's only one side to the story, they're lying. Even in conflicts amongst people in a relationship, you have his side, her side, and then the truth. So you got three sides to the story. Because people's perspective on a particular situation could be true. Two people can have different perspectives on the same situation. You have to hear both sides of a particular situation in order to gather the truth. That's the way it's got to be. So anytime people are presenting just one-sided information, you already know what they're doing. It's propaganda. All right. Let me see if I got any questions here. TikTok, I'm watching. If you guys got some questions, go ahead and throw that in there. Instagram, I know you've been going to. Oh, nope. Instagram did not, because I never hit go. Uh-oh. Let's see if it's going to work for them. I did not hit go on Instagram. I'm curious to see if it'll back play all this information. No, it will not. All right, Instagram, sorry. I just did a whole presentation about propaganda. I left you guys out by accident. So if you want to watch the full presentation, check it out on YouTube. But we're going to do some Q&A now. Let's see what you guys got. Oh, shout out to my sister. I see you in the chat. If you're still watching. Oh, by the way, you owe me some food. Let me know when you're ready to invite me over so I can get something to eat. That reminds me, y'all, cookbook's out. The cookbook is out. Okay. So it doesn't look like y'all got any questions per se. It just looked like just interaction. Okay, I'm glad you're there. I'm glad you're there, Queen. So you can, I'm hungry. Just let you know. Next week. As a matter of fact, I'll send you a recipe from my cookbook and you can make that. All right, y'all. I appreciate you joining tonight. I hope this information was helpful, beneficial to you. If you've ever had that thought, I need to eat something, right? Like I need to eat something. I just want you to think about, where did that thought come from? Is it because you've been taught that a particular time you're supposed to eat, or have you associated eating with a particular feeling in your stomach or in your body? Like, where did you get that feeling? Oh, I need to eat, right? Because when we talk about traditional digestion, that feeling, those hunger pangs you guys get that you think is like, oh, I need to eat, it's really just a ghrelin production going up. Ghrelin production goes up during times when we typically eat because the body is very intelligent and it knows around the time when you typically eat. So it increases ghrelin production, which is a digestive fluid. It's preparing the body to digest food. And that's typically what we associate with being hungry. Someone has taught you that that means that it's time to eat. Okay. Someone has gaslit you into believing that that means it's time to eat. That's not what that means. Also, when you hear the stomach rumbling, that's your intestinal tract cleansing itself, probably in preparation for food, or it could be because you just ate. Either way it goes, you hear the stomach rumble, right? It makes that burp sound. You could have just got finished eating, but it'll make that sound. Why? Because that sound doesn't mean you're hungry. It just means that the intestinal tract is cleaning itself. So we have a false narrative about our body, and we have a false narrative about the feelings, and someone manipulated to believe and think these things, and they did it on purpose, and it was for a specific reason. Why? I don't know. But we can surmise it's about, making money, selling more product, or maybe keeping you guys unhealthy. Not for a good reason, right? So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the live. If you did, hit that like button for me. Hearts, I don't know, TikTok, whatever y'all do. You know what I mean? I see so much stuff going, but I don't know what any of it means. So 5,000 hearts, I guess. I don't even know. How did I get 5,000 hearts? There's no way I have 5,000 hearts. What does that even mean? Is that like my total hearts, like ever? I've gotten 5,000 total hearts. This is going up. Now I have 5,200 hearts. I will put my cookbook. I'm going to put my cookbook in the link for y'all. Now I'm going to use some propaganda. I'm going to propagandize. All right. Listen, here's why y'all need to get my book. What I've done is I put together a collection of recipes that are designed to help transition you from the standard American diet to an alkaline diet. It's a transitional cookbook. Okay. The benefit of a transitional cookbook is you get the vibe of traditional eating, but it digests really well, so that way you can move your bowels. It'll help help with disease reversal. It'll help with all your wellness goals without you having to go to an extreme, because I do believe in transitioning from a standard diet to whatever healthy new diet that you want to do. You don't want to just go from one side of the spectrum to the other, because it usually doesn't hold up. So I created a cookbook, and one of the things I'm really excited about in a cookbook is soda. Soda was one of the first things that I ever stopped eating or drinking when, I was concerned about my health. I thought, man, I'll never be able to have it again. But what I ended up doing was I eliminated soda, and then I went to tea and juice and stuff, and I eliminated that. And then I just went to drinking water. And then one day I was like, man, I feel like we could just make soda ourselves. They got these things called Topo Chicos, which are absolutely, I was going to say delicious. It's not delicious. I just like those bubbles, man. The bubbles are crazy on Topo Chicos. And I decided to try it with some grapefruit juice, and I made a soda out of it, and it was delicious. So I put that in the cookbook. If you guys are interested in playing around with making your own homemade sodas, it's designed to give you ideas about what you could do. All right. So anyway, link for that is in the YouTube chat. If you guys are on TikTok, I'm probably not going to put the link in the chat or anything, but you could just simply go to ahealthyalternative.org. and then go in the shop and you could grab the cookbook. Also, support a good cause. All right. So that's a little propaganda for you that'll maybe be beneficial to you. What is that? What is that? TikTok is wild, bro. Anyway, I'm just wilding. I'm just having a little fun. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. I'll probably be back. Oh, I have a great interview coming this Sunday with a guy. He lost like 60 pounds, but that's not the special part of the interview. It's about the lifestyle that he developed after he started his health and wellness journey. You guys are not going to want to miss it. It is coming this Sunday. I'll be releasing it as long as Clever, if you're watching, as long as my editor gets me the video in time, I'll be releasing it at 10:30 on YouTube, so you guys be looking out for that. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I hope you had a great week, and be blessed. Peace. I'm out of there. Now, TikTok, how do I end you? Oh, there you go.